Hey guys, what's going on? It is Ash here coming at you today in Clash Royale. Today we're doing another new meta tournament. Now, I like to do one of these tournaments every single balance update just to see what the top players are playing in terms of decks. So I hosted this one. I gave a little bit of a heads up on Twitter. I said bring your best deck under the new balance changes, and what we're going to do here is review how kind of the meta is evolving in the game, because as you guys know, Poison is kind of bye-bye. A lot of people have been asking me in the comments, Ash, do you think that Poison is legitimately absolutely dead? And I don't know. I don't think it's dead, but I think it might be kind of on life support. We're not really seeing anybody use it lately, and wow, look at this. It's Fade representing Elite Gaming, starting off with a 3 crown really fast here on this match. Look at that, only 1 minute into the match, and he pulls off a 3 crown. That was super impressive start for Fade. Wow. So yeah, anyway guys, what we're going to do here is basically the format of today's episode is you're going to have a lot of me blabbing into your ear. I don't blame you guys if you want to put me on mute for a bit, because it is going to be a little bit of a longer episode. You can see we have 36 minutes kind of ticking down right now. I played a few matches in the beginning. I went 3-1, but then I lost that last one, and then I thought to myself, you know what, let's kind of start recording here and move on to the pros and take a back seat and just enjoy them so I can commentate and talk to you guys. So what we're going to do here is we're going to stick with Fade because, wow, that was an impressive victory. So we want to see what he has going on in this deck here. It looks like a really fast Goblin Barrel cycle bait deck. It's just a real nice kind of a hybrid, but it's also really cheap. And once we watch this match, what we're going to do is probably hop around a little bit, kind of get a feel for what the top players in this tournament are using in terms of decks, and then we'll kind of stick with the top 1 or 2 or 3 players in the entire tournament and see how they play their decks. So sit back, relax, join me, and hopefully we'll be entertained with some really high quality gameplay. So Fade here, we can see, you know what, to be honest with you guys, I was too busy blabbing during the first match that I missed the entire deck. So let's take a look at what he has in this deck. He has both of the goblins, or actually should I say all 3 of the goblins. Goblins, Spear Goblins, and Goblin Barrel. And you can see the cycle power of this deck is incredible. Obviously, he can cycle to Goblin Barrel, he can cycle to Hog Rider. It's just a super aggressive deck, and you guys saw how incredibly powerful it can be in the right hands on that previous replay when he pulled off the 3 crown there. I have a lot of faith that Fade might finish in the top 5 of this tournament, if not the top 5, certainly the top 10 or 20. He's one of the best players. I actually did a pro tips player, not an interview, but a player spotlight with Fade. Oh, probably about 3 weeks to a month ago now. So if you guys want to check that out, he's at like 46 or 4,700, actually 47. He's at 4,700 cups as a level 10 right now. That's pretty impressive. It's definitely not record breaking, but it's definitely really impressive. And he's not one of those level 10s with, you know, level 13 cards. He has all level 11. I think he has a couple level 12 commons. But other than that, he's not playing any legendaries. He's just using this type of deck. And you can see he's cycling to that Hog Rider pretty aggressively in that left lane. And the beautiful thing about this deck is think about the 3 goblins. That's what I want you guys to really concentrate on here. Besides the Hog Rider, I mean, you do have the Minion Horde as well, but let's just think about the 3 goblins, right? So when you're going at a tower, and you can see Fade does this so beautifully, but you really have 3 layers of offense working for you, right? You have the Goblin Barrel that's going to be most of the time placed behind the crown tower. You have either the minions or in this case the goblins that are going to go all the way up to that crown tower, and then you have the spear goblins that are going to be hitting that crown tower from a distance. Now what that does is having those 3 layers of aggression or offense onto the opponent's tower is really forcing the opponent to remain incredibly on their toes defensively with their arrows or their whatever they're playing, zap, poison, whatever, with their direct damage counter, because they really have to hit 3 different moving targets. You can see here, Minion Horde coming to the tower, Goblin Barrel behind the tower. He's ready with the arrows, and there it is, another victory for Fade. So that was a really good match as well. Starting this episode strong, Elite Gaming really representing with Fade pulling off 2 victories. Oh, How about me? Didn't even realize it was versus Ken from Elite Gaming. Wow, we do have probably, I think, 4 or 5 guys in this tournament, so hopefully they all finish high. Really rooting for our guys in this one. Look at this. Okay, let's take a look. So throughout this episode, we're going to take a look at all the decks being used. Speaking of Elite Gaming, we're rooting for the Stig here. The Stig is, I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, but I think he's the oldest person in Elite Gaming. One day we did one of those polls, you know, the how old are you poll, and man, I was shocked at how many younger people we have in our clan, and ironically, all the young people in our clan were also all our best players in the clan. Now, that's not a shot at the Stig. It's more of a shot at me and Dennis the Menace. We're probably the second and third oldest in the clan, and we're all in our late 30s. And all our best players, they're young, man. It's something about this game. Maybe it's the hand-eye coordination, but, you know, ages 14 to 18, 19, around that age range, I don't know. It seems like all our best players are in that age range, excuse me. And it's funny because I actually had a comment on my last Pro Tips interview, and the commenter said, Ash, why are you bringing all these young people on the channel? Can't you find some older pros? And I didn't respond to it, but I felt like saying, that's because all the pros are young. I mean, think of Electrify. Like I said, Electrify, Surgical Goblin, widely considered to be some of the best players in the entire game, and both of those guys are 16 years old. So, like I said, it's definitely something like maybe it is the hand-eye coordination of you young folk out there. Maybe you're just more used to these type of fast-action video games. I mean, back in my day, I was playing like old-school RPGs and like Magic the Gathering. Not a lot of hand-eye coordination there, or I don't even want to go into my more embarrassing days of like Dungeons and Dragons or anything like that. But anyway, digression. Yes, I am a huge nerd. But maybe it's also the fact that they just have more time to play, generally speaking. I mean, a lot of us have jobs and families and stuff like that. Not to say that young people don't too, but I don't know what it is exactly. All I'm saying is that I've noticed that trend. But man, what a digression on my part there. Let's go back to this match here with Stig. The reason I'm playing this one here, and this is going to be a common theme throughout this entire episode here, is I want to cover different types of decks. And the deck on the bottom here that Stig is going against is an interesting deck. It's kind of like a pseudo spawner deck. Obviously, it doesn't have the Barbarian hut, but it does have the Furnace, which is making a huge comeback in the game, along with the Goblin hut. And in overtime, especially with the rocket, you can see Stig goes down. Jit must be a young player. Joking. I don't know who Jit is, but obviously the Stig is a great player as well, and he lost to this interesting spawner deck. So if you guys are looking for a spawner type deck, what I'm going to do is take the time in today's episode, because this is the meta deck episode, I'm going to take the time to post in the description, not in the comments, but in the description, every single deck that we view today. That way, if you guys like one, you don't have to go back and hunt for exactly what deck you want to give a shot. You can just go ahead and look in the description, and I'll put replay 1, replay 2, replay 3, and I'll just list the cards for you guys. That way you have easy access to find the deck that you want to give a shot without having to pause the video and copy the deck into your profile. So this time we're going to go ahead and hop into a match with Jordan. Now Jordan, I am trying to get on the, he's been on my channel so many times by now. I think maybe 4 or 5 times. Certainly more than any player in the game, maybe with the exception of Jason, but he's never been on an actual audio interview. So I'm trying to get Jordan to come on. He's a great guy. He's been with us in Elite Gaming for maybe about a month now. So you know, I don't try to recruit any of my pro players, because I want the clans that these pro tip guys are representing to have faith that I'm not trying to recruit them. I'm just trying to share their content with you guys. So I never invite anybody who I bring on the channel to actually, you know, join Elite Gaming. But Jason actually had it, excuse me, Jordan, geez, Freudian slip there. But Jordan actually had his own clan, so he actually approached me and asked if he could join Elite Gaming and hand his clan's leadership off to one of his friends. So that's how he joined up with us. So it looks like he is playing this minor deck with Skeleton Army, and obviously a lot of defensive power with the Mega Minion, the Inferno Tower, the Log Princess. I mean, this is kind of a control proxy type deck, and it's interesting how he's playing it. Now, we have seen some decks like this with the Hog Rider as well. It's very similar. The supporting cards, should I say, are just really similar to the Hog Rider Rocket Cycle deck that we're kind of seeing lately, and hopefully we'll see one of those decks as well. And you can see Jordan does pick up the W against III from Stars Gaming. Now, he's a pretty good player too. I think he's hovering around the top 10 as well, and Stars Gaming actually has a couple people in the top 10. We'll go ahead and check in on them in just a bit, but what I want to do now is hop back into another Jordan replay. We'll kind of do back-to-back fades, back-to-back Jordans, and then we'll move on to the other top players, because I do want to give my clannies some love. Hopefully you guys can kind of cajole Jordan to come on the channel. Maybe he's a little bit shy, maybe he's not. We'll have to wait and see, but drop him a line on Twitter. I'll go ahead and link his Twitter in the description below if you guys would like to see him on the channel. Now, besides that, guys, I do want to go ahead and get your comments on what decks you are using post-balance update. I really love to hear your feedback, and you know, these decks are definitely going to be very viable and very good, but there's a lot of you guys who will be watching this video, and I want you guys to be able to scroll through the comments and get some more ideas. So what you can do is help kind of crowdsource this by putting in your favorite deck. That way people can kind of drop you a thumbs up if they like your deck, maybe drop you a comment on possible substitutions, and then you can help out other people by doing the same. I think it will be pretty cool if we can all work together to find some cool types of decks that will be strong in this post-balance update. So moving on to this match here, we can now see all the cards that Jordan has again here, and we can really kind of get a feel for what type of control deck he is running here. And again, he has the Miner as kind of a proxy card to chip away at his opponent's tower. Interesting that Ethan, the player he's going up against here, is playing the Elixir Pump. Now, I don't think, kind of like Poison, I don't think Elixir Pump is going to be dead. It's just a much riskier play. I mean, even a Fireball onto an Elixir Pump is a loss, especially obviously if you're going to hit a tower as well. So risky pump, risky pump, but Elixir Pump, very risky play. I think I might just have coined a new term, risky pump. Okay, but Elixir Pump is definitely a more risky play than it used to be, especially if you're going to like open up a match with an Elixir Collector as you almost automatically did before this update hit. I mean, now you're really running into a risky situation as your opponent could easily direct damage that or combo a little push with a direct damage ending, and then you're out the Elixir Pump, you're out a lot of damage to your tower, and you know, you don't have a lot of Elixir left to show for it. So it's really tough to make a real good positive Elixir trade. Kudos to OJ. Positive Elixir trade to open up a match with an Elixir Pump. That's why I think we'll still see the Elixir Collectors used, but I think they'll probably be used towards the midpoint or even the last minute of a match. Because why do I say that? Because you can actually tell which of your towers your opponent is focusing on by that point, and then what you can do is just place your Elixir Collector on the opposite side, and then put the onus on your opponent to decide which tower they want to attack with their direct damage. Do they want to go ahead and waste a rocket or a fireball on an Elixir Pump that's not on the tower that they're focusing on? And that could actually be a win for you as the person placing down the pump. So that's how I think the Elixir Collector meta will change a bit. It's definitely not going to be as common to see in every single top deck as it used to be. I've dropped the Elixir Collector myself, but those are definitely my early thoughts on Elixir Collector. In fact, I think I will make a small little tip video on the Elixir Collector post update. I am participating in that King's Cup tournament that you guys have probably heard a heck of a lot of about now, and geez, I have no idea what deck I'm going to be using. B, I don't have high hopes for myself. I've told you guys so many times in the past that I'm definitely not a pro player. I just don't play the game enough to be a real top player. I consider myself maybe a little bit above average. You know, I have a few 12 Grand Challenge wins, one 12-0 Grand Challenge win, but unfortunately my favorite deck in the game was Miner Control, and that is pretty much dead, at least the version that I used to play. Maybe I'll try out this version here by Jordan, and just being very selfish here, that's one of the reasons that I wanted to do today's video and today's extra tournament, because I did want to cover some post-meta decks to get some good ideas on what I'm going to use there. Now, I do want to clarify about that tournament for those of you who may not know that that's not hosted by Supercell, that's hosted by YouTube Gaming. Gaming. So Supercell really has nothing to do with it other than being the creators of obviously the game that's going to be featured. But they created the format, and they created the guest list and everything that goes along with it. So definitely should be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. I love having fun in this game. And look at that, Jordan's 2-0, Fade is 2-0. EG representing, what up? So now what I want to do is probably take a look at a different deck. I don't want to stay with the same person for too long, because after all, this is the new meta deck tournament, so we want to look at different types of decks. So let's go ahead and speculate, or rather spectate, excuse me, on a different type of deck. So let's go ahead and look at this Lanny McDonald character's Siege deck. Now this guy, I don't think he's lost so far. I actually caught a few of his matches earlier in this tournament. Again, a very, very good Siege player playing an Expo deck that's very similar to the one that I shared very controversially by Patriots34 recently. And, oh god, I don't even know what to say about that video, but I will comment really briefly while we're watching how Lanny McDonald plays, that for those of you who don't know, I recently had a pro player tip with Patriots34. It was a very controversial video. Now, I don't want to make excuses because, you know, excuses are like, you know what, everybody's got one, right? So, Lanny McDonald, by the way, pulls off a very nice W there, it looks like. And Lanny McDonald has been in a few of my other tournaments, another guy from Stars Gaming, and he is a very good player. So we're definitely going to watch a bunch of his matches. He's now in first place as well, so I think this could be come down to the wire. My prediction is that Lanny might pull off this W, but hopefully my boy Jordan or Fade or anybody else representing Elite Nation or the clan family, Elite Gaming, pulls off this victory. But this is a cool deck. Let's check this one out while I discuss briefly the little controversy on my last video. So here is a Golem deck with a Lumberjack is the last card that he has not played yet, Berserker, on the bottom there. So pay attention to how he plays this deck. It could be a fun one to try to replicate if you guys are lucky enough to have the Lumberjack card. So on my last pro player tips, I interviewed Patriot34. Now, I already talked about my excuse, and my excuse was, I've been moving this week, and it has been a hellish week. Let me tell you, I had issues with internet, issues with recording, issues with losing replays, so I had to do that expert interview where I recorded and I interviewed at the same time. Normally, I don't do that. Little tearing down the fourth wall is normally I record the video, and then I talk over it just for the pro tips episodes. That way, I can really concentrate on the interview and already have some familiarity with their gameplay as well. I think it just provides better content at the end in the final product for you guys, and that's what I'm all about. But for that video, I actually did both at the same time, and I noticed that he was doing a little bit of BMing, here and there. I think I saw one or two, laughy faces, and to be honest with you, I don't think that's really the end of the world. It certainly wouldn't preclude somebody from coming onto my channel. I've had a few other expert interviews in the past that have done things like that, especially in regard to something going on actually in the match. So here I am falling all over myself apologizing for him. That's not what my intention is right now. But basically, a lot of you guys were really offended by the level of BMing by Patriots34. I still think that the episode stands alone as a really, really good tutorial. Berserker, by the way, pulling off that win with that interesting deck there, as a good tutorial and a good introduction to Siege decks, specifically Expo Siege decks, similar to the one that Lanny McDonald's playing in this tournament. So he was BMing a lot, and a lot of people took offense to that. And you know what? I'm kind of on the fence, to be honest with you. I think that, I am 100%, as you guys know, I'm 100% against bullying, and especially internet bullying, where it's so easy to be a jerk to somebody over a computer screen. But at the same time, maybe it's gone a bit too far, the negativity about BMing. I mean, it is allowed inside the game, and there is a mute option, and a lot of top players do it. And, maybe there's just some skill involved. A lot of people commented, Lanny pulls off another victory here. A lot of people commented on that video saying they were really disappointed in me for showing that content. And I just wanted to apologize if I offended you in some way by showing that type of thing. And I understand it's totally your right to dislike my video and let me know that you had a problem with it. And I fully support that. That is why there is a like and a dislike button in these videos, for you to go ahead and express your feelings on the type of content that I'm providing. So I have no problem if you ever dislike any of my videos. I'm not a like whore. I don't mind if you do or don't like my videos. It doesn't matter to me, guys. I just try to do the best I can to give you guys some quality content. So a lot of people commented that they were offended, and then a lot of people also commented with some interesting an interesting comeback to the people who were offended. And they said that, one guy in particular was like, Ash, I come here for the people with the best skill, not the best manners. No one refused or didn't want to watch Muhammad Ali or Michael Jordan or Wayne Gretzky, the best at their game, because they were cocky and they were rude at times and competitive. So I do think there's credence to both sides of the arguments. So me personally, I've had some time to think about it, and I think that I don't BM, I don't do it at all. I always try to be a good sport. So I can only speak and stand by my actions, and if possible, I'd much rather have people on the channel who are really good sports, really good competitors. But at the same time, I do want to stand by my commitment to you guys to bring on the top players in the entire game. So I don't know exactly how I feel about everything. I haven't really fleshed out the whole entire controversy. I use that term very loosely, guys, kind of tongue-in-cheek. It is just a game at the end of the day, but I don't know exactly where I stand, but I do know that I care about you guys. I want you guys to be happy with the content that I provide, so I'll continue to listen to your feedback and try to go ahead and continue to bring the best content that makes you guys happy in the future. So just wanted to kind of address that. Wow, I spent way too much time talking about that, so we're going to put it to rest. We're going to move on with this awesome tournament. So there's only 13 minutes left, just over 13 minutes left. I do want to take a quick look at these top decks here, see what these guys are using. You can see there's a pretty decent variety, but a lot of skeleton army and a lot of rockets, right? So of course I say that, and this one's not a skeleton army and a rocket deck, but there they are. A lot of furnaces, a lot of rockets. I think that skeleton army, rocket, and furnace are definitely the cards that we're seeing the biggest rise in popularity. That's just anecdotal, but that's what my eyes are kind of telling me based on the 3 tournaments that I've hosted since this balancing update has hit. So let's watch another match with Lanny McDonald, because I kind of blabbed my head off throughout the first match. So this time we'll actually see how he plays this deck. So obviously, he's putting the Expo, being super aggressive right in the beginning of the match. Now, if his opponent plays a Mega Minion on his Expo, a Mega Minion is a great counter to the Expo, because a lot of Expo players play both the Fire Spirits and the Ice Spirit, and a Fire Spirit and an Ice Spirit won't kill a Mega Minion. So essentially, you're wasting 9 elixir all to stop a 3 elixir Mega Minion, and it's not even going to get the job done. So that's a great way to counter an Expo. So if you're playing an Expo and your opponent plays a Mega Minion on the Expo, your best defense is playing another Mega Minion and an Ice Spirit. That way you can kill the Mega Minion, and your Mega Minion will survive as well as your Expo. If you don't have the Mega Minion in your hand to defend against the other Mega Minion, then you're better off just letting your Expo kind of die and live to tell this tale another day. So really, if you look at the rest of Lanny McDonald's deck, it's all supporting the Expo. It's all about supporting that Expo card. I mean, with any good Siege player, they're going to go ahead and trickle in some offensive, some chip damage here and there. I mean, it is a chip deck after all. It's really the quintessential chip deck, being that the Expo chips away at a tower itself. You're not going to take down an entire tower with just one Expo, but rather you're going to kind of chip away at it, hence the chip deck. So you can see Lanny McDonald does something a little bit interesting here, and he uses his Expo defensively quite a bit here, especially anytime his opponent plays the furnace in the center of the map. He'll play the Expo to take down the furnace, and then he'll use the rocket, as you saw him do right there. So Lanny McDonald really relies very heavily on that rocket to chip away at the tower as well, and that's something that's very important. A lot of people are scared to use the rocket solo against a tower. I think we're just kind of conditioned over the last year of Clash Royale, well, not quite a year yet, but you guys get the picture, of really wanting to get value out of our direct damage, meaning that we don't want to use a rocket or a fireball or whatever against a tower unless we're hitting another target as well. And you can see in this match that is certainly not the case, as both players will freely use that rocket solo against a tower. I mean, it's all about using chip damage with a big bomb to take down your opponent's tower before they take down yours. And you can see here again, Lanny really relying heavily on that rocket. Did you guys count how many rocket shots it took to take down that tower? I mean, the rocket did most of the damage there. I want to say it was 3 or 4 rockets on that right tower throughout the course of the match, and that's really what ended up winning the match for Lanny. And now he's in first place. And check this out, guys. Look who is now in second place. It's Retropolis from Elite Gaming 5, or Elite Nation 5, excuse me. And wow, it's so cool to see Retropolis, who's a really good player in his own right, from one of our, we don't call them feeder clans, but one of our clan family clans, representing that close to the top there. So let's take a quick look at some of these other decks that people are playing. A lot of Lava Hound decks for sure. Another Lava Hound deck here, an Trifecta deck. Let's go ahead. What I want to do is lay off the replay. We'll check out one replay here, and another Fade, and look at this, Fade, another win. This is incredible, man. Fade might finish first overall. Let's take a look at where he stands right now after this win. But what I want to do right now in the final 10 minutes is kind of narrow down on the very top players and see how they square off against one another here. So Fade is now, okay, in the top, he's in 6th place here. So let's see who else is in the top 20 and what they're using. Again, a lot of Furnace action now, a lot of Lava Hound decks. This is an interesting one with the Lava Hound and the Lumberjack, but look at this. We have Retropolis against Fade. This should be a good showdown. It's Lava Hound against this really fast cycle deck that we saw to start out this episode by Fade. So Lava Hound played right off the bat, and somebody commented on a recent video, I think it was the Trifecta deck, I think. They asked if you should always play the Lava Hound if you have him in your starting hand, and this is just my advice, definitely not a pro air player, but I would always play the Lava Hound if I had him in my starting hand, if I didn't know what kind of deck my opponent was playing. Now, if I knew that my opponent was playing a super aggressive, bait cycle type deck, maybe I would let them make the first play, and if I did have the Lava Hound in my starting hand and I didn't know what my opponent had, if it was just a blind match, maybe I would go ahead and let them make the first play if at all possible. But yes, in a nutshell, I wouldn't be afraid to play the Lava Hound right off the bat there. So in that little exchange, it was pretty even there, and here comes this famous push here by Fade, Goblin Barrel and Hog Rider, and a good defense there by Retropolis. He played the Tombstone, excuse me, and the Tombstone just a great counter to the Hog Rider. The Hog Rider can still get one hit off the tower without any spell assistance against the Tombstone, but even that one hit isn't that bad of a trade considering you did pull off a positive elixir trade in the deal. Now it looks like Retropolis could be in a little bit of trouble here in the left lane. Smart move by Fade, following up those Barbarians with some Spear Goblins, and Fade does take down his left tower, so Fade strikes first here. Who do you guys think is going to win this one? But you can see this is going to be a pretty substantial push here on the other end by Retropolis, and he takes down that Minion Horde, and now he's just got a Lava Hound sitting pretty on that tower. Definitely not what Fade is looking for here in terms of tower protection, so he has no choice but to play the Barbarians, and oh no, just a little bit too early, just a hair, a split second too early on those arrows by Fade. Otherwise, he could have definitely protected a lot of damage on that tower. I'm sure he's kicking himself right now for that move, and I think we've all been there, right? The Lava Hound, you think he's gonna die like any second. You drop those arrows, and then you're a hair too early, like I said, and that hurt a little bit on Fade, but he still has the lead. So here comes the Goblin Barrel. This is gonna be tough to defend against here. Hog Rider, Goblin Barrel, tons of stuff coming at Retropolis, but Retropolis does get down that right tower with the Miner. And now it's going to be a head-to-head. We have a few live viewers. Both of these guys have got to be feeling the pressure. Now, Retropolis has a lava... Oh, look at this. 2 Lava Hounds on that left tower. Sudden death has begun, ladies and gentlemen. Here comes the arrows. Now, look at this. Fade actually saved his elixir for one final push. Hog Rider, Goblin Barrel. Is he going to get it? Oh, no! Oh, my God. And the 3 crown by Retropolis on the King Tower. That was so epically close there. wow, that was definitely the match of this episode. Just a hair of HP left on that right tower, and Fade would have had the win, but instead the 3 crown goes to Retropolis. That was awesome, and now we have Lanny McDonald in first place, Retropolis on second place. We're going to go ahead and view some of the other decks, but I think that it being this close towards the end, I'm hesitant to watch an entire replay without keeping a very close eye on Lanny and Retropolis. So really close, Fade. That was, I'm just going to tell him here in chat, I don't normally do this, but I had to give him some props for that match. It was definitely fun to view as a spectator. It must have been totally crazy to play as an actual player. So just again, guys, going to take a look at the top decks here, again, just so you guys can copy them if you're looking for different ideas, decks that you may not have yet considered. It's tempting to spectate on number 3 and number 4's match here, but okay, it just ended anyway. And you can see the new top 3 right now is kind of shaping up here. Because the trophies are so close between 1 and 2, I do want to make sure I get this match here. But you can see another Golem deck. This one is actually the same deck that I shared in a video 2 days ago. The first deck that I was playing post-update, and I gotta say, really a big fan of it. However, I've never been a huge beatdown guy, so I have gone ahead and switched decks to like a Hog Rider Rocket Cycle deck right now, and I've actually been enjoying that one that I mentioned earlier in today's video. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at these other decks here. Again, another miner. This is very similar to the deck that we saw Jordan playing, and let's go ahead and are these guys gonna play? I sure hope so. Oh, check this deck out, guys. This is kind of an interesting deck here with the Minion Horde and the Barbarians along with the Knight and Goblin Barrel. Starting to see a little bit more variety in decks. It's kind of nice to look at these decks and not just see Goison, 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 Goison. I don't know if you guys agree or disagree, although at the same time I'm kind of frustrated because I haven't found my perfect deck yet, because although Goison's gone, as I mentioned, so is my old miner control that really relied heavily on that poison spell to protect the miner once I put him on my opponent's tower as well. So we haven't really found our perfect deck yet. I'm kind of just hopping in and out of these matches right now. Again, don't want to miss the last match of this video, so we'll have to see what happens. Maybe I'll give them till about 1 minute left in the tournament, and then I'll hop into the last match if there is one. If not, we'll just kind of go down the line here, take a look at these decks again. Another Golem Skeleton Army deck. We're seeing so much of that. It looks like here number 3 and number 4 are going to be playing not playing each other. It looks like they're in separate matches because the countdown wasn't exactly in sync there. So yeah, just so much Skeleton Army. I'll tell you what, guys, a lot of people, even asking me on Twitter, what would you change about this deck, Ash? And I gotta say, considering adding the Skeleton Army into basically any type of deck archetype now, it is a great defensive card for only 3 elixir. I mean, pairing the Skeleton Army with the Mega Minion, you're talking about 2 cards that are seriously very, very powerful for both only 3 elixir. And when you use the Skeleton Army card, guys, don't be afraid to use it. I mean, don't be afraid to use it on defense as well. I think a lot of us still have those old habits of, the Skeleton Army is an expensive card, not expensive, but 4 is right in the mid-range, so I don't necessarily want to use it unless I absolutely have to. But now that it's only 3 elixir and the skeletons are so much more powerful, even against splash damage, it actually holds up pretty well. So just tuning in again here, it looks like this one is, okay, I was going to say going into overtime, looks like that's not the case there. So I did win that one, and so far no action on our 2 top players, guys. This is coming down to the wire here. Again, only a few trophies separating them at the top. So look at this. We have Jordan right now in 5th place. Let's see if he's gonna win his game. This should vault him up pretty high in the standings if he pulls off this W here. And you can see it's looking pretty good. Only 45 seconds left right now, and he has 1 tower down and almost no HP off of either of his towers. So let's go ahead and return to main menu. I just want to keep, oh, there they they are. They're playing. They're playing, guys. So this one, we're going to go ahead. We'll swap between both of the matches just for the first minute or so. And then what I want to do is I'll go watch Retropolis's replay in Elite Nation 5. And we'll get both of the replays in totality there. So you can see here, it's going to be Expo versus Lava Hound deck. And we'll have to wait and see. Even if Lanny wins this match, it does not guarantee him victory in this tournament. It all depends on who Retropolis is facing here. So let's see. Retropolis is actually facing ZYZZ, who's in 3rd place, and Laney McDonald is facing Rob, who's actually in top 10 as well. So this is really going to be a narrow victory. Both of these guys have to win. If one of them loses, they don't get 1st place. So that's a situation that we're in right now. Lanny starting out again with that Expo, getting a lot of chip damage. Talk about chip damage. This is a lot of chip damage done to that right tower. That is a really convincing opening for Lanny McDonald. He's got to be happy with how things started out in this match. Only a minute and 30 seconds left, but you gotta figure no damage done to his tower. Rob even says well played. I think Rob might know that things are going to be very, very tough. Playing a Lava Hound deck to pull off this big comeback with only 70 seconds left in the match right now. So let's wait and see if Lanny shifts his style of play to be more defensive, and it looks like he is. He's playing the Expo right in the center of his side of the map, just really trying to concentrate on defense here, although he is going to take a little bit of damage from that Minion Horde on that right tower, so things might be a little bit more interesting than they seemed in the beginning here. So really, you can see that Rob is decided not to use the Lava Hound at this point. He's just going to go ahead and try to get some damage done to that right tower using his Minion Horde, and his lightning spell. So he's going to rely on the Minion Horde and lightning while playing defense in the left lane, trying to stop that Expo. And you can see Lanny, since he took all that damage on his right tower, he's starting to be aggressive again on the opponent's left tower, trying to keep him on his toes. And it looks like, oh, here's Lava Hound. Lava Hound played right now, but only 20 seconds left. And he has the Fire Spirits ready. Fire Spirits take down the entire Minion Horde except for one strong Minion left. And look at that. That's it, man. That's going to be history. Only 10 seconds left. He has the lightning spell in hand, but he needs more damage done to that right tower. Remember, tournament standard lightning is only 360-ish damage done to a tower. So yeah, that's going to be well played. So Lanny picks up that victory. Let's see how things are going in the Retropolis match. So Lanny seems like a really likable guy, but I can't help but to pull for my clanmate here. Oh, Retropolis pulls out the victory, and we missed the whole match. And how does it stand? Ooh, Retropolis is in 1st place, and because of the cup differential between 2nd place and 3rd place, nobody will be able to affect 1st and 2nd. So it looks like that is going to be our winner, Retropolis. I'm going to go ahead and head over to Elite Nation 5 because I do want to bring you that last winning replay in its entirety. If you guys are looking for more tips to become a really good Lava Hound player like Retropolis, go ahead and stay tuned for this last replay before I let you guys go. So Elite Nation 5, and of course they're full. That means I'm going to have to go send them a message and come back to you when I'm in the clan. So one sec, guys. All right, so through the magic of editing, that was really fast. Here I am in Elite Nation 5. Let's go ahead and take a look at this replay. Start it from the beginning and just see how Retropolis pulled off this win using the Lava Hound deck. Now, it's probably noteworthy that the only real difference between this Lava Hound deck and the Lava Hound decks that we were seeing before the balance update is A, they're using arrows. You're seeing a lot more arrows than you used to. And B, we have the log added to this deck instead of the poison or the zap spells. So really the arrows and the log are substituting in for poison and zap. You still have the Mega Minion. You still have the lightning to take down the Inferno Tower, to stun the tower, and of course to kill the Mega Minion, the Musketeer, whatever the defender is placing to counter the Lava Hound. So there's still a lot of value value there in terms of the new cards to the deck, but overall, the philosophy, the mentality behind this deck is relatively unchanged, but it's just much more effective now. And of course, there's no elixir pump anymore. A lot of Lava Hound decks, in fact, most Lava Hound decks, but not all. Dylan's deck, for example, the Trifecta never ran the elixir pump, but a lot of the Lava Hound decks used to run the elixir pump. It seems like not many do anymore. So right off the bat here, Retropolis gets a lot of damage on this very first Lava Hound push onto that right tower, and he's got to be feeling pretty good so far about this match. You know, only one Lava Hound push and almost half the hit points off that right tower, and almost more importantly is there's no damage done to his towers. You can see ZYZZ again playing that Golem Skeleton Goblin Barrel deck that is so popular, especially in my clan. It seems like everybody's using that, and don't get me wrong, guys, I mean, ZYZZ is in third place, so definitely don't take this to mean that this deck is not effective, but this deck isn't the strongest against Lava Hound decks. Every deck has a good counter. Doesn't mean that the player's not good, doesn't mean that the deck's not good, rather it's just a bad matchup. And when you think about it, there's actually a lot of good counters in this deck by Retropolis for the Golem deck. I mean, he has the Tombstone, he has the Minions, he has the Mega Minion. There's just a lot of answers there that he's able to counter the Golem, at the same time putting pressure on the opponent's towers via the Lava Hound. So it looks like one more push here might get the job done by Retropolis, and it's probably noteworthy that Retropolis never switches up his towers. You hear a lot of pro players talking about how if they're coming at you hard in one lane, you're not afraid to switch up your tower that you're targeting in the other lane. But when you're going against a Golem deck like this, you can easily just back up your Lava Hound with your defense and turn that into a counter offensively. In this case, you can see right now on the screen, the Mega Minions and the two remaining minions from the Minion play are going to meet that Lava Hound at the tower, and that's it. It's going to be the win condition, and it's going to be game over. So congratulations to Retropolis of Elite Nation 5 finishing first in our meta tournament. And good job to everybody who participated, and thank you so much, guys, for staying till the very end of this, which could be my longest Clash Royale video ever. What do you guys think of it? Do you guys like it? Do you guys want me to shorten it up in the future? Do you want just the highlights? Let me know in the comments below, guys. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. Thanks for watching, and as always, take care, guys.